Well, hey, Al. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I'm so exhausted, and feel like I was in labor for half the year. Um, yeah, getting to know my shadow and um, all these aspects that really wanted to be included and integrated. And now I feel like moving into a time of completion now. Like there's certain lessons that are being tied up, and yeah, definitely feeling a sense of completion and closure and opening. And so it's really surreal, and it's a little bit of everything, and it's beautiful and sweet and bittersweet and amazing. And there were some terrible moments, it seemed, but like far and few between, really, in the scheme of things. And yeah, the terrible is a part of everything, and it's a part of we and she too. Yeah, it can't always be rainbows and puppy dogs and flowers, like there's gotta be, you know, the shit and the scary stuff too, and the stuff that like wakes us up to what we've been asleep to, and yeah, shake us up a little bit when we're ready and when we're willing to. So a lot has happened. Yeah, a lot. I just feel like I've processed so much, and there are so many gifts and so much that did come through, and so much that is in the process of healing right now that I have better insight or better insights into. I can, yeah, I can see more of the picture of what was hidden from me before. Shining a light on the darkness. And yeah, which I just picked up this book a few minutes ago. So it's the little book on the human shadow, and like I just wanted to read this one little sentence. So what's the shadow? Like, the shadow is simply the whole unconscious. The definition von Franz settles on is neutral and lucid. So the shadow, in the first stage of approach to the unconscious, the shadow is simply a mythological name for all that is within me of which I cannot directly know. So I thought that was interesting, what I can't directly know. And so, yeah, I think that's why, in a way, sometimes it's so easy to see or perceive something in another and not be able to see it in ourselves. And that's sometimes where our blind spots come in. And yeah, and that's why I feel like, yeah, it's so helpful to have a reflection, and through like that relationship with others that we do have, and that we get to nurture and attend. And so, yeah, just having some deep thoughts about the last 6 months, since it's been, a lot. It's been so much to process and excavate and go through and experience. Yeah, so I am definitely moving into a place of acceptance now that's genuine and authentic. And I feel like my conflicts that I was having, my inner conflicts, have been reconciled and resolved. And yeah, at least I've become aware of them in a way that I can work with them and play with them now in 3 different ways. Whereas when I first started in March or so with working on working with my anger, working through my anger, honoring my anger, paying attention to the messages that my anger and my emotions and my grief had for me, the messages that wanted to speak to me through these different lenses and parts of me. Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. All of these parts and all of the stories that came up, and the roles and the ways that each of these parts relate and play with each other. And yeah, I'm still forming a picture or a coherent whole of everything that I'm just integrated. And so it's like still, yeah, it's still in process and everything, but I have been able to look at different things about it and just blown away really by everything that it has given me and everything I have been able to include and alchemize and honor and unify and divide and multiply. So yeah, and differentiation and then unification and multiplication and then division again, you know? And it's just like how life regenerates regenerates herself through all our lives, through all this life. And so just kind of blown away in a lot of ways, in so many ways, in every way. It's really, there's just no one word that can really say just how I'm feeling, but yeah, I feel like it's time for a little bit of rest now and renewal, and it definitely been feeling that. Yeah, the last couple days I've gone to bed like super early this week, earlier than I have in like 20 years or maybe longer. I don't know. I don't remember ever going to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening in my adult life. I mean, that's how tired I've been lately. But yeah. And now I feel like I can relax, and that I do feel like a sense of ease and peace, and I know all is well and everything's okay. Like, even if it's not okay, it's really okay. And just working with the discomfort and being okay with being uncomfortable, because knowing that the uncomfortable and the discomfort has value. And if it would have been comfortable, then I wouldn't have been able to see the things that I needed and got to see. And sometimes we need that, you know, like to get out of our comfort zone or to stretch and grow. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the discomfort and the fear of the unknown. And sometimes it's like the fear of our own shadows, you know, like the fear of our own dark and the fear of our own light, the fear of our own power, the fear of our own bullshit, the fear of not being right. Yeah. And so there's a couple synchronicities and archetypes that have been popping up a lot for me lately. And one of them, a big one, has been the sun, sunshine. Yeah. So, in a lot of different ways, it's perfect right now. So we just moved into fall, or into the autumn equinox, where night and day were both equal. It was the equalizer. That wasn't too long ago. Let's see. And tonight's a full moon, so it's the sun and the moon. Keep coming up, popping up for me in my space and in my writings too. And like, I just kind of think it's just interesting how it all relates, how it all connects, and how it all reflects and projects all this magic and all this light and shadow. So the sunshine, yeah, I've been feeling the sunshine a lot, the warmth of the sun and the childlike innocence. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a warm, kind of light, feeling at ease, at peace, freedom kind of feel to it. And the mirror, the light, and the reflection. I have this little mirror. I use like little symbols in different places where I'll just, it's kind of like sand play in a way, I guess you could say. And it's just arranging different things in different places and knowing that they have messages, but like not forcing them to have a certain message, but just picking up on the messages later, or seeing how they relate to the whole, and their relationship in it, within the whole. Yeah, and interpreting certain messages that way, and it's really cool, just a fun way to play. And so, yeah, I just have this little mirror on top of my sun card over here for the last couple days, and it's been popping up in a couple different ways. And last night, I picked up a book. I couldn't sleep last night, even though I was so freaking tired. So I got up and I had a cup of tea. It was a cup of tea tree. So it's made out of balsam fir, which is like a pine tree, and it's like a Christmas tree. So it was a Christmas tree tea, and it is actually a really great plant, ally, friend, supportive of the immune system and the lungs and all of that. So that's a good time to support that, all those good things and systems. But I picked up this Greek mythology book, and turned the page, and here we go. There's just some pictures and like little plates, and plate 60, plate 61, and plate 62. Plate 60 was the sun god Helios. The sun god depicted on a Greek crater. A team of 4-winged horses drew his chariot across the sky. When it had crossed the heavens, it sank into the western sea and rose again in the east to bring the returning day. During the annual festival on Rhodes, a team of 4 horses was sacrificed by being thrown into the sea. Helios was later confused with Apollo, probably because of Apollo's other name, which was Phoebus. The bright, but Helios was the original sun god of the Greeks, identified by them as the spirit of natural phenomenon. For that reason, he enjoyed no particular veneration, and there was no cult of Helios on the Greek mainland. However, he was acknowledged as one who saw and heard everything. In the Iliad, Agamemnon calls upon him to witness the oath he takes before the duel of Paris and Menelaus. And then, I'll show you a picture. I don't know if you can see that, but Helios. And then the next one was plate 61, Selene, the goddess of the moon. Like Helios, she was to be confused in later legends with other deities. Some traditions described her as the sister of the sun god, and appropriately, she was most often confused with Artemis, the sister of Apollo. Unlike Helios, she had no cult of her own, though evidence suggests that there was something like a moon cult in Crete, in very early times. Despite this, the Greeks shared with their contemporaries the superstitions about the moon and its influence on organic and erotic life. Everything prospered and increased when the moon waxed. The opposite happened when the moon waned. Magic was practiced in the light of the rising moon, and the full moon was the time when physical passion would be most intense. The illustration shown here is a detail from a Greek crater and shows Selene on her horse. The moon is in the descendant, and goddess and mount are beginning to sink from sight. So that's interesting. And so it being a full moon, and the changes with the sun, and where the light and the dark, that seems kind of nice. Nice little wink there. And then the third plate was plate 62, Asclepius, the god of healing and medicine. That is according to Hesiod. To Homer, he was a mortal who was taught the art of healing by Chiron, the centaur, and the centaurs come up a couple times in funny ways this week too. It's kind of funny. Hesiod made him the son of Apollo by the nymph Coronis. I thought that was weird. So, okay, let me read that again. So he was a mortal who was taught the art of healing by Chiron, the centaur. Hesiod made him the son of Apollo by the nymph Coronis. So, strange. Who proved faithless to her divine lover. He complained to his sister Artemis, who killed the nymph with arrows. Then, while watching her funeral pyre burn, Apollo was filled with remorse, and he snatched the unborn child of Coronis from the flames. The child was Asclepius, and Apollo entrusted him to the care of Chiron. The versions of Homer and Hesiod agree at least on the point that it was from Chiron that he learned the art of healing. Asclepius sometimes incurred the wrath of Zeus and his brother Hades. His skill as a healer could deprive Zeus of revenge by bringing his victim back to life, and deprive Hades' kingdom of inhabitants simply by ensuring that they did not die. He is shown here with his staff and his serpent emblem, which signified renewal. And so, yeah, I've been getting renewal and healing and clearing and cleansing and purging and, yeah, all of that. And it's just funny and uncanny. And I just think that's super interesting too. Like, just even, yeah, he didn't have fans because he was competition or something between the living and the dead, and all that. Yeah, his powers of healing rivaled the powers of the gods themselves. So that's interesting just to think about or contemplate and look at. But I just thought that was, yeah, pretty awesome, since the sun and the moon keep coming up in certain ways, and the opposites, yeah, the union of opposites, the emperor and the empress and the lovers, and the mother and the child too, keep coming up. And so, yeah, I'll just read. Oh, yes. This is one theme that's been popping up a lot this week. And it's funny, I just had a conversation with my Auntie Shelley, and we both had this theme come up for us in the last couple days, or the last week, and it's about judgment. And judgment is number 20, or key 20 in the tarot. And I flipped open my tarot book today because I was going to look at the sun, but I flipped right open to judgment instead. There's kind of like a little place in the back of the book where it kind of has like meditation suggestions, or just like a little summary for creative visualizations and affirmations on the 22 archetypes. And so, yeah, that's what I flipped open to, is judgment. And so I'll just read this for you and with you. The judgment card reflects the coming together of our life's experiences. We use this card to meditate on the myriad events that have passed before our eyes and receded into our memories, to take account of what we've accomplished and apply it to understanding the purpose of our existence on this planet. Despite the title Judgment, the card is non-judgmental. Similarly, our meditations are not judgmental either. Instead, we should use the experience to understand that all that we've done has been leading somewhere, that we have been fulfilling our individual destiny, even if its true meaning has been kept hidden from us. When we meditate with this card, we can feel the stirring in our soul from the trumpet's blast. We are being called, and we must answer that call. Our life has reached the point at which we are ready for answers to our deepest questions. It's important, however, to keep in mind that this does not imply an end to one's life. Instead, the judgment card usually implies that you've reached the end of a cycle, or the passage from one stage to the next, when we begin the fool's journey again. Meditation with the judgment card helps us prepare for this new stage. It provides a chance to see how things have led to where we are and where we are going next. To meditate with this card, I look for a common thread that binds my life's experiences. I look for some acknowledgement that I have been moving in a direction leading to a sense of purpose. I try to take from these meditations a feeling of fulfillment and self-satisfaction. I also prepare myself for changes that may be on the horizon. I say, this is what I have done. I am ready and waiting for what comes next. And yeah, that's kind of just wow, because that's what I've been feeling like. It's letting go right now. It's the full moon. It's a great time for letting go anytime, but like really great during the full moon. Like it's really amplified with the momentum of that energy. And letting go with trust and faith, you know. It's like, in a way, sacrifice, in a way, letting go of something old to make room and clear the space for the new to come through and for the new to be nurtured and born through. And so, yeah, making that room and clearing that space and honoring the end of a cycle, and that the gifts in that the gifts in that cycle that were given, and that sense of completion, honoring that, honoring all that was given within that cycle of growth. And there's a lot, there's so much, and that's why it's like, yeah, I think I need to sleep, catch up on a little bit of sleep, and yeah, and just allow it to be all it is right now. And that's like an awesome place to be, is where it can all be. And in just responsibility and allowance and trust, making the room to work in partnership and through relationship with the universe, with spirit, with love, with God, with all. Yeah, through one and all. And so, yeah, it's just, wow. And I want to read just a little bit more about judgment. That was just like the little meditation or creative visualization little snippet. And then this one is like kind of like a just summary of the meaning of the judgment card. And I don't know if you guys have seen what the Rider-Waite deck looks like as far as that imagery. Let me see. Here it is, Judgment. Good little look at it. So it's a good one to look at. And it's very, very, yeah, it relates. It relates for me in so many ways right now. So, Judgment. 20. Made pure by the sun, we are now ready to face the challenges, tackle our problems, get on with new chapters in our lives. If the Death card meant the clearing away of the old to make way for the new, the Judgment card calls us to action. It tells us the time has come. We are ready to assume a more meaningful existence, to live life on the higher plane, not just as individuals, but united with all others. We have an appreciation of our role in the world. On our journey, we have been seeking truth, enlightenment, hidden knowledge, self-awareness, and trying to bring balance, harmony, and a sense of peace and contentment to our lives. We now possess those things, and we can use them during the adventures to come. The card tells us to look no further, wait no longer. New paths are opening, and as we travel along these new paths, we may be starting once again the cycle that brought us here in the first place. But as we've learned from the Wheel of Fortune, when we return again next time, we'll be even wiser. The card itself draws on biblical images of souls rising, awakened from the dead by Gabriel's trumpet. We can take this to mean that we too are being awakened, emerging from dormancy, lifting the obstacles that block our growth and development. We can also see ourselves rising above our problems, the mundane concerns that restrict us from achieving our potential and that leave us locked inside ourselves. We have been released. By the time we reach this stage, we have changed, and we recognize the change. We now fully understand that our life's work is a combination of personal fulfillment and achieving some higher destiny. We understand our purpose for being here and how to integrate that purpose in everything we do. The time for questioning is over. The real work, our life's work, is just beginning. The next time we pass this point, we will be able to show real progress. And so, wow. That's like, just resonates so well with everything I'm feeling and experiencing too. And I do feel like, yeah, it is like a restoration and a resurrection and a coming back from the dead. And it is like in a sorts right now, a shaman's death and a rebirth And I have noticed the changes, and I feel the changes, and I do see the changes, and yeah, definitely there's been shifts and changes within, and then there have been little changes on the outside as well, and then linking the inner to the outer, and yeah, seeing how they relate and mirror and reflect each other. Yeah. One holds the other, and the other holds the one. Yeah, they hold each other, hold one another within one. And so, yeah. And the reversed meaning of this card, little snippet. Unable to see purpose in your life, the shackles have been broken, but you won't let go. Closing your mind to the new possibilities, shunning responsibilities, turning a deaf ear to a call to action. And that's interesting, because that's exactly like kind of what I'm feeling is next. Now that I've had some completion with some of my lessons, and it goes along with my dream that I had March 1st, about that tribal gathering. Yeah, that was like me learning about all of our patterns and all of these aspects, and how they relate in multi-layers, like multi-dimensional ways. How they relate to me and we, and their generational and their family and their societal or cultural and collective and personal. And yeah, my blind spots, I was able to see what I hadn't been able to see before about something that was really personal to me. And it was just kind of funny because in my dream from March 1st about my anger is medicine, I was upset with my teacher in the dream because it was her house and she didn't know what was going on in her house. And so it's just kind of funny where I didn't even know what was going on in my house, like my home here, and my actual home. Like, it was too up close and personal for me to actually be able to see the dynamic that had been at play, and that is actually like, yeah, a family and generational dynamic that is asking for dissolution or resolution. And I feel like that's on its way to healing now. Even though it doesn't feel comfortable right now, I know that it is all being healed, and it's already healed. And so I feel like it has, and I've had some confirmation and some visions and some profound experiences that have affirmed and clarified that for me in some beautiful ways. And maybe I'll share next time a little bit about that. But yeah, there's been some beautiful healing that's happened in this last week, and it is bittersweet, and it's like hello, goodbye, kind of a thing, kind of a vibe. Just letting go of some right now, and then welcoming in others now, and yeah, or saying farewell for now until next time, or until later. Bye for now, and I wish you well, and I wish you the best, and that feels genuine and generous. Yeah, and just like claiming those boundaries, and then being able to give myself what I need, receive what I need for me, and then extend that goodwill and hospitality to others in my life for their own well-being, and learning that, yeah, their path is right for them, and the way that they get to heal is right for them, and the way they get to choose is right for them, and I can allow them their own experience in their own ways and their own story, and their own responsibility and their own things. And so it is a lot lighter, and it feels better, and it feels more true, and I feel like I have reconciled some of those inner conflicts, which were caregiving and wanting to take care of people because I love them, and it's like just the way that I kind of saw myself in relation to the whole as that caregiver, stepping out of that role where I don't have to play that caregiver all the time because it doesn't really serve the other or me and what's ours, and then differentiating what we share, what's mine, and what's not mine. And so that has all been exactly what I needed to see for me and for my growth and healing. So I'm grateful for that, even though it was painful and it wasn't very pleasant, some of it. But it, like I learned, it doesn't need to be, and it gets to be. It doesn't have to be pleasing. It doesn't have to please. It doesn't have to please me. It doesn't have to please the other. The other doesn't need to be pleased, and I don't need to be pleased, and I don't need to do the pleasing. And the other doesn't need to please either, but be pleasing. And it just gets to be, so that it can be authentically pleasing in its own way, even if it's displeasing. So, yeah, go around on that wheel for a while. But, yeah, and one more book that relates. I flipped open. I'm just going to read a little part of it because it does relate as well, and it's just funny how it does so well. Okay, so 102, page 102, the third path of initiation. No matter how important or successful a person becomes, no one can control the unseen worlds of spirit in the same way that they control employees, spouses, or children. We cannot manipulate the dream weave. The web of life that we experience is precisely woven by our internal attitudes, thoughts, feelings, and judgments. Trying to buy our way into a state of enlightenment is ludicrous and impossible. Good works will not change the web of life if we are behaving like tyrants when dealing with other human beings. If we hold secret judgments, the net of our entangled energy will reflect the internal wars raging between our shadow and our light, effectively strangling the best laid plans for success. We need abundant courage to see exactly what we are creating with every thought, attitude, or action. Any effort to cheat or slide by unnoticed has to die before authentic healing can occur. On the opposite side of self-importance, we encounter people who have suffered greatly in life and have no sense of self-esteem at all. They may be so deeply wounded that the third path continues the second path opportunity to find the courage necessary to reassemble their sense of well-being. They may be so deeply wounded that the third path continues the second path opportunity to find the courage necessary to reassemble their sense of well-being. Some, in the face of incessant human tragedy, choose to revile the sacredness of life and do not care if they destroy themselves or others. For these people, the first and second paths have involved learning to see hope for the future for the first time in their lives. By the time they reach the third path, their task is to reinforce the self through treating themselves and others with profound respect. These people usually appreciate what others take for granted, since the smallest of blessings was once denied them. Prior to the original wake-up call that brought them into the paths of initiation, their lives might have been what most people would consider living nightmares. If all that we have experienced in life is suffering, poverty, humiliation, and pain, we often continue the abuse by adopting it as our personal behavior. In such instances, seriously wounded human beings find out that by reaching out to others from similar backgrounds who have changed themselves, they are given a new foundation on which to rebuild their lives. This sense of extended family gives people a form of support and can change them forever by showing them that they are valuable and worth loving. The path of reclaiming self-worth is a hard one and requires perseverance, but the person who finds the courage to walk this path is powerful indeed. Healing from the depths of despair, including memories of violence and abuse, can infuse a calm strength in those who have walked through that storm. When others would panic in the face of danger or disaster, a person who has already experienced far worse can garner the strength necessary to rise to any occasion. Often it is painful to watch people go through their growth processes. When people we love are learning through hard knocks or heartache, we may hurt too. If she or he is racing at speeds up to Mach 10 with his or her hair on fire, heading for a brick wall, how are we supposed to respond? We can issue a warning, speaking up as long as we are prepared for the possibility that our message may fall on deaf ears. We can remain silent and observe, We can retreat, allowing that person to learn in his or her own way, choosing to observe from afar. If we do not approve of the person's behavior and we feel it is destructive, we can step out of his or her arena of influence. If the person is an addict, we can intercede with our other family members in order to get him or her into recovery. All decisions about how to respond are individual, but in all cases we are asked to hold no judgments, praying for this person's highest good, turning the situation over to the great mystery. Letting go of how others should heal is a third path lesson. In the tradition of the Southern Seers, this transformational process of healing our internally held imbalances is called shaman's death and rebirth. The death of false ideas, the end of destructive illusions, and the termination of relationships with people who support inappropriate or unhealthy behaviors will all appear in this cycle of initiation. The death cycle can also include dark nights of the soul, which force us eventually to look at the growth opportunities we are being given by undergoing the death and rebirth cycle. If we deny this third path transformational process, refusing to see it as a way to develop endurance or elk medicine, events in life will continue to challenge us until we become willing to pick up the gauntlet and surrender to the healing process with grace. Wow. The ensuing dark nights of the soul become more intense if we continue to deny the warning signals that life presents to us. Health can suffer. At this stage of initiation, the stomach, liver, spleen, and intestines are the weakest because they reside in the same area as the dreaming body, which contains our life force and the connections we have to the unseen worlds of thought and feeling. So, yeah, I'll just leave it there. But, yeah, that was just perfect. 102 and 103 of Dancing the Dream, The 7 Sacred Paths of Human Transformation with Jamie Sams, by Jamie Sams. And the other one that I read the tarot from is The Mystical Tarot by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. And the first book was Robert Bly, A Little Book on the Human Shadow. And so, yeah, I did... I filled up the rest of my journal last week, or let's see, a couple days ago. And then I started a new one. And yeah, so that's a beginning and an end right there too. And this is kind of funny how it just continues, like recycling or cycling through. So September 24th, yeah, was the day that I finished this journal that I started on August 18th. So that's a month's worth of good stuff there, and all sorts of stories and reflections and connections, and there's just so much that came through, and I just can't even believe, like, I'm still blown away by everything that I've received and that's coming through and that's in the process of completion and transitioning into initiation of a new cycle and new stages of growth. So it's freaking amazing, really, and I'm just humbled and I'm grateful, and I feel very full. And a little foolish too, and that's okay, because I embrace the full, embrace my fullness and my foolishness, my innocence and my foolishness, because they're both part of the full. So they're both, yeah, they're all part of the full. So isn't that cool? But yeah, let's see if there's anything else that wants to come through for this little transmission and message and sharing. Oh, yes, I remember. There's been, yeah, some older things that have surfaced from a couple years ago, and it's like different layers and levels continuing, and it relates to observing and letting go. Because I have had like some fears come back up again that I haven't had like really creep up for a while, like in those ways, like, and it's just kind of funny, like almost like Makes me feel like a kid again, like, oh, almost like afraid of the dark again, like in a certain way, but it's, yeah, it's silly. Um, and it's just a reminder for me that I am safe and all is well and I am held and all of me is well and all of me is held and all of me is loved and yeah, so be well. And so yeah, just like affirmations and yeah, and then remembering some things. Yeah, remembering like some old lessons that I had and that coming back to me right when I need them, and they relate to tying up these lessons. So it's pretty cool in those synchronistic ways. But what it really is too, in a way, it's like my sense of self or a part of my ego is afraid. Yeah, because it's unknown now. Like stepping into the unknown, because now there's no other like frame of reference for what's unfolding now. So that's a little bit, I don't know, like I guess because of the sense of false control sometimes that we fool ourselves with. Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's not the same anymore, I guess, in certain ways. And so it is a leap of faith now. And it is like kind of like time to fly. Like, ready or not, it's time to leave the nest, and it's like spread your wings and fly. Yeah. But you can rest first and work up some of that endurance. Yeah. But yeah, it's just feeling a lot lighter and feeling complete. And it's so funny how it does relate to my dream about the archetypal themes of the tribal groups and the tribal identities and the tribal highs and the tribal mind, the hive mind, and yeah, all those things. And I learned a lot of lessons on social media. The last, yeah, well, I mean, gosh, I've been on it 10 years now, and so it's a bittersweet time. I've learned so much, especially, well, I mean, just every part and every phase and stage had different things for me, and I realized, yeah, maybe I'll share a little bit more about that, and I'll probably get more insight and reflection too after closure and completion of that. While I'm leaving Facebook, I'm totally just walking away from it and deleting my whole account, just walking away from it, and it's okay. I feel like I can let it go now. I learned what I needed to learn, and I received and I contributed what I needed to, and now it's time to put my energy into something new. And I did get everything that I needed, and so I'm thankful. And I was feeling a little resentful about it, like at the beginning of the month, like fuck Facebook then, screw them, and blah blah blah. And I just like, yeah, because the censorship and the silencing and the complicity and the freaking, yeah, dishonesty and just all that stuff that I don't really like, like, and that's okay for me not to like it. Like, I can still allow it to be and allow it to teach me and allow my feelings to show me like what I'm being asked to see. And so, yeah, so I went with how I felt about it, and like there was a knee-jerk reaction at first, like that was like, okay, I guess like I'm just gonna go out with a bang and tell everyone fuck you, or like kind of in a way, like kind of spiteful, wanted to, some of me like, fine fuckers, you don't want to listen, like there was a part of me that was like feeling that way, like, well, good luck, like fuck on off now, or just like fuck on away now, or just like, here, I'm gonna tell you what I think and I'll tell you why. Like a part of me was like feeling still a little bit hostile and hurt, and just kind of like, well, you guys are so hypocritical, and and all that story kind of thing. And then I was just kind of watching and observing and looking at those things, and like, okay, it's okay for me to feel that way, and just gonna allow it without the judgment, really, just observe it and not get sucked into it. I like kind of watch what the story is saying and telling. And then then there was other feelings I had about it too. It was like, oh, I'm really gonna miss this and this and this about it. And I really love seeing the art and all of the spiritual food. Like, really, there's a lot of eye candy, but like so much like nourishment too. And yeah, it's gonna miss some of that stuff. But then, like, I realize how much, like, looking at it over the years, how much it has given me and how much I have learned. And especially the last 6 months too, like, with these lessons and challenges, to integrate different aspects that I wouldn't have been able to see. I couldn't directly know them until I could see them reflected and projected on the other, or coming from the other back to me, or in the collective and the personal and the impersonal and the individual, and how the self knows itself in relation to the whole. Yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to see a lot of different things about me if I wouldn't have stuck with it and been willing to complete these lessons and these challenges and be true to me and my well-being and my feelings, and walking the path of self-mastery and wholeness and integrity, for wholeness and integrity, yeah, and service to the whole. So super grateful, like, that it did give me so much. It gave me so many insights, and like just working with it, and it was a dance, and I felt like an obstacle course in a way, yeah. And then just yeah, being able to see certain things that I hadn't seen before, and I'll go into that next time, but like seeing them actually connected on multi-dimensional levels and layers, and that was really trippy. Like when my one blind spot like kind of cleared or opened for me to be able to see clearly, and then all the puzzles fit into place, and it was very illuminating, and a little at first hard to look at, but then yeah, once I owned it and I didn't have judgment about it, yeah, then it was clarity. There was clarity and a clear picture, coherence. And so yeah, I'm still resolving issues. Well, not really issues, but like feeling like there's issues with some of my feelings, but like allowing my feelings and letting them show me where I get to love and allow me, and where I've been hurt, and where I get to take accountability, and what I get to choose, and that I can let go of resentments now, and I don't have to hold on to them anymore. And I feel like resentments were all about like not having good boundaries, because I didn't think I could set boundaries for me when I needed them. I felt like I needed to go above and beyond, or overextend myself, or make it better for the other person sometimes. But now I realize I don't have to do that anymore, and so now there's no reason really for resentments, and it's just discernment and participation and cooperation, and learning through that relationship as we go and as it unfolds and all that. And so yeah, there really is so much to share about different dynamics and things that I've been looking at, that like with the wounded child and the wounded parent, and how that perpetuates a recycling of the narcissist codependent dynamic. And I got to see that in a lot of ways, like in and through a lot of my relationships, where we play both parts actually. If we're in a narcissist codependent relationship, we do have both traits. It's a big spectrum, and so it's different for every individual and every relationship. And yeah, and so I think that's really interesting to look at, and I'm definitely gonna do some more diving into this, and I would like to share some insights at a later time as far as that goes, because it was so interesting, really. And it had to do with the martyr and the caregiver and the rebel, being the black sheep and the scapegoat. And I got to see so much about that when I allowed myself the gift of confrontation, and being vulnerable and authentic, and letting go of perfect and letting go of the pedestal perfections of the idealists. So yeah, I saw kind of some how those archetypes and those aspects relate and play, and are interchangeable in certain ways. Yeah, through my own being, my own ways of being, my own ways of operating, or that learned conditioning. Yeah, so freaking interesting. But I just wanted to mention, yeah, some of those things that came up, and in and through working with my anger, I feel like I uncovered the original wound, or my original wound. And that opened up so much, and just clearing some of that old stuff away to be able to get in there, to have it break open and come open, be opened. To let go and to let the new be birthed through. And so, yeah, it has been like a death and a rebirth, and it's still in process. It's a work in progress and a masterpiece, too. So, yeah, just feeling all sorts of feels today about what's passing and what's coming into being. So, one thing that I did really make an intention with, though, is that I didn't want to leave Facebook by saying, okay, fuck all of you, because that's not really what I wanted, because that really wasn't like what it was about either, because it has given me so much, and it has been so full of gifts, and so full of riches and learning and connections. And I can't even believe, like, even just looking back 10 years ago, how much I've grown in 10 years. Like, and that's like kind of made me like kind of review some things too. I almost died in 2010. I was very close to death. I was in the hospital almost the whole year, in and out, in and out, in and out, in 2010. And just to see how much things have changed. And like, yeah, where I am right now and where I was, and this journey and discovery of well-being and healing, and what I've received in these 10 years. And so, yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like, Facebook was a little part of that, until, yeah, I guess I started getting on it more maybe around 2012 or so. And, yeah, and just learned so much about like my different habits and my different patterns and my rhythms, and like kind of how I became a chameleon sometimes. And I would recognize that. I would see it, and I just thought, hey, that's a kind of a cool skill, or kind of cool morphinogenic kind of shape shifting ability, or to like kind of switch gears, or yeah, just shift personalities, I guess. Like, in certain ways is kind of fluid, but like in another way, maybe it was just part of like a mask that I wore too, to belong and to make others feel at ease, and things, or to fit in, belong in my own way. Like, even though I've never really like conformed, but I had my own way of conforming to, I guess, the social structure and what not in certain ways. So it's kind of interesting to look at those things and those ways, and actually like look and see like all the gifts and all the expressions and all the experiences and all the stories and all the perspectives that have helped me like really see and know me, and like my gifts and my purpose. And I wouldn't have been able to see that without the familiars and the allies. So yeah, and the enemy too, So yeah, feeling grateful for all of it, and there's value in all of it, and through all of it, for all of it. So for all this love we are and get to share and be, receive, give, and co-create, create, recreate, generate, and honor. And so, yeah, I told myself I wanted to be, yeah, because I was grateful and I was thankful that that's how I want to leave. I want to leave because it did give me so much, and I'm grateful for everything that I did receive. And I wish everyone well in their path and in their own ways, wherever they are, and with whatever they need for their well being. And farewell for now, and good luck and good and goodwill. Like, I wish you well, and meaning that too. Like, take good care of you and be well. And that feels so much better and more true than, okay, guys, fuck all of you, like, didn't get my way. And so it's kind of funny, like, almost in a way, just knee-jerk reaction, wanted to have a tantrum about it, but then, like, realizing, oh, you know what, it's time, and this is what it's giving me too. It's not something that I need to be resentful about. It's something that I get to be thankful for, because it's really helping me to move on and forward now, because now it's time, and it's actually going to free up a lot of energy and space for me to focus on my creative possibilities and to the newly hatching plans and projects I have going on, and I'm nurturing. And yeah, it's exactly what we're and how and all it's meant to be. And so, how perfect is that for reconciliation and all my love for all of me and all my love for all of we? Yeah. And so it just, yeah, that's where I am right now. And still processing a lot. And I think getting a little more sleep might help too. And yeah, I'll give myself permission to rest now, because I just, I had told my auntie on the phone today, yep, last week I birthed an energetic shit monster. I mean, gosh, it was like, yep, that's what it was. That's what it felt like. And yeah. But yeah, that was just part of it. And just to get to my real self and to my full well. Getting through the hell to get well again, to be well. And so, yeah, there was so much, and I'll probably want to share much more that relates to beginning and endings, and to now and the past and the future. And so, yeah, in all those ways. But thanks for listening and sharing this journey with me. How are you on your journey of discovery and well-being, your path of mastery, your path of love, your homecoming to yourself? Yeah, homecoming and farewell. Yeah. What's come up for you? What hasn't felt very good about it, but what are you willing to allow? And what can we be grateful for? And what can we release now? What are we ready to let go of now? And to trust the universe with partnership. Yeah, partnership and showing up. Are we making the space? Are we making the room for the universe too? Because yeah, it's not all you, but it is in a way. It's kind of funny. So, well, I hope you're taking good care of yourselves, being love for yourselves, being well for yourselves, loving yourselves, caring for yourselves, honoring yourselves, being love for yourselves. All right, take good care of you. I love you and I thank you. Farewell for now. Talk again soon. Okay, ciao.